I'm Amy, sex educator, sex and relationship coach, and co-owner of PurePleasureShop.com.
And I'm April, sex toy maven, VP of Hot Octopus, and I've dedicated my life to the business of sex. We're two people with a passion for educating and inspiring shame-free conversations about sex and relationships. Welcome to the Shameless Sex Revolution.
Want to learn more? Go to shamelesssex.com, and for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code shamelesssex at purepleasureshop.com.
You are listening to a pleasure podcast. For more from our sex podcast collective, visit pleasurepodcasts.com.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Guess what is around the corner, April?
Anal August?
Yes, Anal August.
Or it's right now.
No, because this has come out before Anal August. But you might be listening to this in Anal August of 2022 or some other August. But Anal August, one of our favorite months. Also, we just coined Jerk Off July, so that's when this is coming out too. April created that term, by the way. So TM, she's brilliant. There's also Masturbation May, but Anal August, we really love Anal August. And we thought we'd release a Anal August episode before anyone else does. Ha 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 ha.
Surprise.
Ha, ha, ha. And this is with repeat guest Kenneth Play, and it's all about kind of like a sex hacker's guide to anal sex, which you wouldn't think you could hack some anal sex. That sounds kind of creepy, actually. But and he does share a lot of tips and tricks on ways to make things easier in terms of enjoyment, performance, pleasure, relaxation, etc. It's a fabulous episode. Kenneth is going to come back on our show like every 3 to 4 months because he's just the best.
He needs a masterclass because he has a really unique way of expressing how to perform different techniques, and he has research backing all of the things that he has in his book that you can get, and we'll explore that later. But he has QR codes that actually give you gifts if you buy the book and you want like actual, is it GIF or GIF?
When you said gifts, I thought like presents. So I don't know.
GIFs.
Children, young people listening that are 18. What do the kids say these days?
I don't know, but you know what I mean. It's the moving things.
I see GIF. Okay. Well, anyways, the sex question is actually from someone who listened to a recent episode with Kenneth, and they said that they heard Kenneth talking about reciprocal pleasure. This is a person who's in their 40s and they are married. And he says that he loves pleasuring his wife. The only thing is his wife could care less. During the episode with Kenneth, he spoke about reciprocation in terms of hand or oral sex. And my partner has only brought me to orgasm manually or orally once in 14 years. I consider myself, though, an oral maestro. That is, when I can convince her to manage to trim back the bush bomb that creeps down her thighs. I don't want her to do anything she's not comfortable with, so I don't ask for oral. I've also now stopped encouraging her to shave, even though I prefer a clean-shaven vulva to let my fingers and tongue work directly on the skin. I'm happy going down her 5 times a day, but it would also be nice to receive as well. How do I convey my frustration? And how can I encourage her to stay groomed, or is that even okay to do? When we try to discuss it, she says, I don't know where your ideas about sex come from. My friends barely have sex once a week.
Once a month.
Oh, months. Sorry for good correction. Once a month. And then he says, please help. Yes, that's an important correction. And I've heard that before, like people in long-term relationships where, well, my friends only have sex. They barely have sex with their wives or husbands or partners or boyfriends or whatever. And so why is this a problem for you? Because like that's normal, or this is normal, instead of actually saying, oh, you have unique needs that's different from what my friends are doing. So feeling for you in that one. And also your friend's perspective is very much kind of like the norm of, go with whatever everyone else is saying or doing.
How many times have we met our friends that are married and have kids, and they're like, well, I only get it on anniversaries and birthdays. Yeah. And my mouth gapes open because
do you want us to put a dick in it when it gets
no, but I just can't. For me and my life, and it depends on what your needs are. If someone is completely shut down to sex and the other person is not, and in this case, it sounds like there's some sort of activity. It's not in alignment. And there's a part that we edited out a little bit, but about the 40s, and there's children. And so people are busy and exhausted. And there's this carving out and putting in your diary or in your calendar, depending on what country you live in, you have to carve out time for sex. And the shave thing is...
Yeah, let's get to the shave thing. We'll move to the shave thing. And so, I agree with what April says is this is like... So this is maybe arousal discordance or discordance?
Non-accordance?
Non-accordance? Non-accordance? Okay, fucking it all up.
Arousal non-concordance.
Concordance.
I was just writing about
Emily Nagowski, please show up right now.
Arousal non-concordance.
Something like that, where it's mismatched desires and arousal. It's been a long day, everyone. But also interests too. So there's not just because one is libido, right? So my friends barely have sex once a month is what she says. So us having sex, once a month is like a big, or twice a month is a big deal. But this person, you love licking the pussy. We'll talk about the bush part in a bit. You could do it 5 times a day and you're not receiving much. And you're saying you've only orgasmed from manual or oral stimulation once in 14 years. So a couple things come to mind for that piece right there. So it sounds like you are getting the occasional blowjob. You've only orgasmed once in those 14 years. And I have more questions about does your partner's mouth go on your cock and then it transitions to sex? Does the mouth go on the cock and then within 3 minutes they're like, I'm kind of over it. Can you come already? Or are they just not putting their mouth in your cock at all in general? Or does it just take you a long time to come from oral and manual stimulation because you're a unique person? Like there's so many different pieces here. Ultimately it's not your partner's job to make you come from their mouth or their hands or their pussy or your cock or whatever. But if you're desiring more hand stimulation, more oral stimulation, and maybe for more duration and maybe exploring it to the point of orgasm, there's ways that you can communicate that and ask for that without it feeling pressuring, without it being like, I've only come once from you doing this and you never do this. And I want more of this. And like my guy friends are doing this, but like, and instead this is a conversation where it can be like, hey, and also no tit for tat. No, like I go down on you X amount of time. So why don't you do that for me? Also not helpful because now we're playing some sort of power dynamic. Instead, you're just speaking to your needs and desires. I love going down on you. I love your pussy. I love having sex with you. I also have a desire for more sex. I have a desire to have your hands on my cock more often and for that to just be its own event, even if it doesn't end in orgasm. Your mouth on my cock, even if it doesn't end in orgasm. Or maybe we can also play with it, resulting in orgasm, but like see what happens. If your mouth, if it gets tired, then we use hands or I use my hands and you take a break. Like maybe we can work together, but like make it a negotiation instead of just this like, well, you don't do this for me, but I do it for you thing, which I'm not necessarily suggesting that you're saying, but it does sound like there's a little bit of a like, well, I do all this. How come this other person doesn't see my point of view?
I want to add something, and I really like where you're going with all of that. One thing that was brought up that we took out, that she's open to porn, but not to any sex toys, books or workshops. And one thing I will say from a perspective of something that's helped me with blowjobs, and I wasn't really keen on being a blowjob provider for many years because of other things that we won't get into right now. And I've slowly become not only better with even wanting to provide that to a partner, because now I actually want to, I'm like, this is fun, but a sex toy helps me because I have something that's happening on my like clitoris or my external, like my vulva while I'm sucking cock. And that is fun. Awesome. And it turns me on. And so sometimes I think giving a blowjob, and I'm not going to generalize, but I know in my experience when I've been like, oh, I'm on my knees or I'm on the bed, I'm like, this is like, okay, yes, I get bored. I get fucking bored. I'm going to say it's legit, shamelessly. I get bored and I'm like, this isn't fun for me. I'm like, yes, I'm sucking your cock. And then I get to a point where I'm wanting to move on, and I also want to have some stimulation. And I can imagine the same thing can happen for people that are providing cunnilingus and going down and
like
licking someone's pussy.
Watch. Yeah.
Right. So for me, that's helped me in
by giving yourself pleasure at the same time. Yeah.
So I think that could be a tool that could help if she's open to exploring sex toys
or your own fingers on her body too. Like if she's into sex toys, or she's grinding on the bed or on a pillow or whatever, helps to provide vulva stimulation too. So those
69.
Totally.
What about 69ish?
Some 69 and and well, also just kind of sound. So here's the other piece, that the part of like, I don't know where you're getting your information from. My friends barely have sex once a month. You're getting it from Shameless Sex. Maybe it's time to tell her that you're getting it from Shameless Sex and say, I've been listening to this podcast. It's by two women. So April, by the way, April's gave the perspective if she gets bored. I don't get bored with sucking dick over here. And I'm not shaming her for it. My mouth gets tired. My body gets tired. I need to switch positions. At some point, maybe I want to do something else. You know, I'm not like, oh, this is just boring. And so I'm not judging you at all. I'm just saying, have your partner listen, because she'll hear all these different perspectives. Like, we don't just say, yeah, everyone should fuck 5 days a week and suck a lot of dick and lick a lot of pussy. Certainly not. It's working together and negotiating and saying, okay, well, here's how I feel. You know, for April, I get bored, so I'm going to use my fingers and vibrate at the same time.
And now I love it.
Yeah.
And because this is what's helped me. So there's lots of tools, and there's an evolution. It's having to apply the tools that are out there that can help adjust these things that are happening. And the fact that you're in a partnership and you've been together for 14 plus years, and you have all of this, you have connectivity. So now you have to address and communicate to shift and change what's happening between you so you can get more of what you want.
And the best way to do it is to come from a your feeling place and make it an us thing. And you're not pointing fingers. Here's how I feel. Here's what I desire. I want this with you. I want to share this with you because I want to go from good to great. You know, we're not broken. We don't have a problem. It's just, I really want us to be in this fabulous place. And here's my desires. What about yours? And how can we put them together? Now let's talk about the bush.
First, refrain from using bush bomb when you talk about this. Let's start with her. You're like, bush bomb.
If I grew my pubic hair, which you've seen before, because sometimes I'll go like a whole month and I'm just like, fuck it. And I have a partner that happens like pubic hair. I could grow like a full on, it would grow like out on to like part of my thighs. I mean, if you see the head, go look up a picture of me, everyone. I have a lot of hair. April, on the other hand, she does not have like any hair.
Sphinx.
She's a sphinx.
I don't grow hair. Someone once told me I have dolphin skin. They're like, you really have dolphin skin? I'm like, I can't grow hair.
But dolphins. So everyone has a different perspective on pubic hair and an ability to grow it or not grow it. I actually was talking to a mutual guy friend of ours. Actually, I can say this. When I'm not talking about pubic hair, chest hair. Kyle Tierman of the Kyle Tierman podcast has yet to grow one hair on his chest still. And he's like 30. And that's just, his genetics. So anyways, yay for you for knowing that you prefer a clean landscape, convincing someone to trim their bush bomb so that it makes things more enjoyable for you. Likely, I don't know, for me, if you did that and you were convincing me, and probably wouldn't make me want to suck your dick a lot. If you approach it nicely and you were just like, and you are asking that.
What if you're like, I want to help you shave in the shower?
Yeah, or that also is like, okay, yes.
That could be hot.
But I also don't shave. I shave with an electric razor that is, I have very sensitive skin and I can't use a blade. So I'd be like.
No, I'm talking about like a waterproof razor.
Like Manscaped?
Yeah, like a Manscaped.
Like Manscaped, yeah. Cool. Okay, I like that. Yeah, Manscaped. Actually, okay, anyways, won't go down that tangent. I would, the encouragement piece. So again, just speak about your desires. Not like, you need to do this. This is what's normal. No bush bombs. More like, so I love going down on you. And when I go down on you, I really love cleaner space with less hair because I really love feeling the texture of your skin.
I can get in there more.
Oh, yeah, I can really get in there and I love that feeling. But this is your body. So you get to choose ultimately. And, my ultimate preference is to have this, clean landscape or a landing strip or whatever. And again, I support you in whatever you want to do. But how do you feel about that? How do you feel about grooming and getting your pussy in and have my hands all over it? And, or like, what are your thoughts?
Maybe she just wants to fucking braid it.
Maybe she does.
Put a bead on it. And be like, I'm like Jack's fucking Sparrow. Like Pirates of the Caribbean.
I mean, I could do that with mine sometimes. You've seen it before. You're like,
that would be dope.
Once I had a pubic hair mullet.
Are you going to go down on me?
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Okay. So yeah, just, and if your partner is like, actually, for me personally, if you were like, I like a completely bald, clean landscape, well, if we were married already, then I'd be like, fuck, because pubic hair is really important to me, to have. It's, it's my body, it's my right. I like the texture. It helps me feel more pleasure, helps my bits feel protected. But, if your partner has some opening to it, then just it's more of like a request or a suggestion and not something that they have to do because it's their body.
Or you could also just invite them to, hey, for 1 week, will you just trim it a little bit for me? And it doesn't have to be all off, because if someone asks me to take off my whole bush, I am not into that idea at all. I like some bush.
Yeah, like a meeting halfway. So say Amy and April meet. So I'm like full massive bush and April's like zero bush. So we meet in the middle with a trim bush.
Yeah.
All right. High five. We just did it.
Air five. Oh. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Problem solved. World problems are solved. We're out. Yes. We've reached the utopia.
You're welcome.
All right. So you ready for the bio?
I am so ready for the bio. And by the way, to this listener, thank you for writing in. If it sounded like we had any hostility or mocking you, that is not our intention at all. We really appreciate when people reach out and are honest with us in this way.
You will forever have my heart with Bush Bomb. Forever, because I just think that's
every
funny.
time April sees me, she's just point and say Bush Bomb, because I kind of always have a bush bomb. Anyways,
all right. Kenneth Play is an international expert on female pleasure who was named the world's greatest sex hacker by GQ and Men's Health. Kenneth has been featured by more than 100 media outlets, including the New York Times, Nightline, Cosmo, Playboy, Vice, and Huffington Post. Kenneth is also the author of one of our favorite books, Beyond Satisfied, a sex hacker's guide to endless orgasms, mind-blowing connection, and lasting confidence. To learn more, visit kennethplay.com.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the interview process of Shameless Sex. And we have a repeat guest here whom we love and adore. And there are many reasons why we will have Kenneth Play back on our show probably every 3 to 4 months, because he's just fantastic and knows a lot about sex. He's great at delivering messages, the analogies that he uses. And it's amazing. We're like, oh my God, I get what you're talking about. And he could talk about anything related to sex, relationships, etc. So the last time was sex hacks. Is that what we did? Because for your book, remind us the name of your book again.
Beyond Satisfy, a sex hacker guide to mind-blowing orgasm and lasting confidence. So I love sharing all the tips and tricks on all the way that focus on female pleasure.
Yeah. I was just reading some quotes in a Cosmo article by you, and I was so excited because I love your work and I love listening to you speak about sex. And it was regarding some hacks that are in the book, which your book is fantastic and people should check that out. If we don't usually should you, but I just did.
Yeah. And well, the book also has some anal in it. And when we were talking about some sex hacks, we were like, well, here we go. Let's go. That's a whole episode we need to do. So that's what, he's like turning to the page. So this is on YouTube, everyone. He just put up an image of an anal little diagram page there of an anus. And so this is Anal August. And I'm not sure this episode might be dropped like the day before Anal August starts or like right in the beginning of Anal August. But guess what? August is Anal August. It's our favorite month of the year. It's time to celebrate the universal orifice known as the ass. Right. Okay.
You've been singing a lot today and I like it.
I'm jolly today. I had two orgasms on my way to your house.
This morning?
This morning. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
On the way to my house?
Like about half an hour ago.
Okay. We'll talk about that later. I want details, but this is about anal.
It's really good for podcasts, apparently. So anal. Okay. So we already did the intro. People heard about you in the bio and they probably heard about you in past podcasts, but we always start with the same prompt. Can you tell our listeners about how you got to where you are today in the field of sexuality?
Well, I have a crazy life story that I'm probably the world's most unlikely porn star, sex educator, making sex ed content, video to writing books. I was an extremely awkward, shy Asian immigrant moving to the state when I was 11. I spoke with such a heavy accent. I was really awkward with girls, and I struggled with that part of my life for so long. I thought because in America, Asian guy's penis is being made fun of, and it ends up to be a butt of every joke. So you grow up thinking that if you don't have a porn star cock, that your sex life is worthless. So just like most men struggle with, is my dick big enough? Am I hard enough? Can I last long enough? Or sexual worth is only based on those 3 criteria. And I live most of my life that way. That's why I love helping other people transform their sexual self-esteem, because I know what it's like to feel that there's nothing you could do to make that part of your life better. And then you just like, fuck this, there's no way to get better. And thank God I learned to adapt a growth mindset to sexuality, really dig into the science and learn what really creates remarkable pleasure. And it's definitely, look, is not having a hard dick is great, right? But however, the biggest pleasure gap is for heterosexual women. And the problem is most guys think they need to have a big dick, they need to be hard all the time, and they need to jackhammer. And it's not creating the anal orgasm that a lot of people would crave.
No.
So I love teaching the art of actually not just creating a mind-blowing sexual experience. That's something that ideally some experience someone never had before. Then it creates a new reference point. It's like eating a meal that food could taste so good. Mm-hmm. So I love creating those experiences.
Yeah, you do. And you do a great job. I want to jump in a little bit before we talk about anal and all of the possibilities that come along with anal. I want to just talk about your experience and how that began for you, your journey with sexual experiences and anal, whether it's for yourself or for others. And speaking to when you were a beginner, like how did it all begin with anal?
Well, the pervy part of me just love anal sex, as in I mean, being a heterosexual guy, I love the idea of seeing my cock inside, my lover's ass. It's just so hot to look at. And also, but it's hotter when they enjoy it, because there's like a little of a taboo element to it that is really sexy. And also finding ways to make that extremely pleasurable and allowing your partner to get into this receptive state so they could receive, because I will geek out on the science a little bit later on the technical part. But it also is a fun sexual organ, because everyone has an asshole. So it doesn't matter what body you have, you could achieve mind-blowing experiences or orgasmic experiences with anal sex. And there's so many different ways to do it. So it's a fascinating sex nerd topic on top of it. And I do, on my own personal experience, so I love on the giving end, I love learning about how to receive what it's like to have a prostate orgasm, because it helped me relate to women a lot more. Like, how do I get myself into this receptive state? Because it's not the same energy as using my cock. It's different. I mean, same thing I think for a lot of female body, the clit energy, like rubbing your clit external, is very different than having your G-spot, your cervix, your anal sex, that sensation. So learning how to navigate that within my body helped me really relate to what my partner is experiencing and why you don't go in guns blazing, So I think it's very important. So also it was really fun to learn how to have multiple orgasms, because I didn't know that it's capable in my body too. So I could like go back to back. I could have a prostate orgasm immediately by a penile orgasm. So I could relate what it's like to have a multiple orgasm. So I think there's so much learning opportunity within that. And so it's a great teaching tool as well.
So the ass, the universal orifice. What would you say are your top tips for beginners who want to even just start with like some sort of exploration? Like they have never even played with fingers or toys or anything. What would say be some of your tips for just that initial, even like playing with it insertion part that might be brand new for people?
I would actually say that is psychological and contextual first before any technique. It depends on your relationship. If the whole time you're thinking is the poop's gonna come out, it's gonna be awful, like it's gonna hurt, like if you subscribe to that wrong YouTube channel while you're having anal sex, it's not gonna be as enjoyable. So the first thing is that how do you get to a state where you feel comfortable enough to have anal sex, and how do you get to a state when you're aroused enough to make it enjoyable? So I find that it's less to do with the actual technique, but getting your mind and creating a state that you're relaxed enough, aroused enough to make that experience pleasurable. And then if it's pleasurable, it's like, you look at a piece of a new dish that you never tried before. It looks kind of gross and you're like, oh, is this going to taste terrible? But when you put it in your mouth, it tastes delicious. And instantly you go like, okay, this is great. I could eat that every time. So it's like getting over that moment, I think, is key.
And we all know the ass isn't so great at lubricating itself. So I'm just going to do a shout out to Uber Lube here, one of our favorite lubes for all kinds of sex, but especially for anal, because it's long lasting silicone lube. So in that sense, so I'm a newbie. I'm going to use April 9 as an example because April loves when I do it. She's making a frown face. She's like, fuck, you're doing it again. April's never had her ass touched, by the way. She's definitely had her ass touched. And I'm her partner. And I'm also brand new to touching the ass. And I want to start playing with April's like, I'd like to explore your fingers in my ass. And I'm like, okay, I'd like to do that too. What would be some first initial steps? I'm pretty sure I want to trim my fingernails too, have some high quality lube. But what else did you say as I start to like play with this orifice that's like, I want to warm it up and get it ready?
One of my April's ass. Now I got to think about April's ass when I describe this. So what I would do is the first thing is to do a little bit of negotiation. Basically, hey, anytime that you feel uncomfortable, I won't press forward to make you continue. So if you say stop anytime, I'm happy to stop and won't pressure you to continue. So as soon as you tap, do you have like a safety mechanism negotiated so it goes in a lot easier? I think my favorite first time anal sex is actually go into the shower and wash each other because it gives you, that when it's like you cleaned it yourself, right? So I love washing my partner, washing her body and like essentially getting into the relaxed receptive state. So getting the body fully aroused. And when I wash her asshole, I could take my time and just clean the anus until she feels, like she's experienced the process. And then I usually bring a waterproof vibrator into the shower to get her aroused enough to clitoral stimulation and also maybe go down and eat her ass. So because if you put your mouth on it, it's like you got over the cleaning bit. Like we did the cleaning, I put my mouth on it. Like we passed that psychologically, which is really important.
So you're not using the vibrator on the asshole though. You're using that on the vulva.
You're warming up. Warming the body.
Got it.
Yeah. So I want arousal to be high. I want sensation to be in a dependable vibrator or her hand, whatever it is. Or I could stroke it. But having some clitoral stimulation, because once you turn on, everything kind of feels better. So you want the arousal state. You don't want to start off cold with anal. So that's a great warm up. Even a few warm up orgasm would be great to get things going. So it's not like you have to stop there. So it will be vibration. Then I'd be maybe eating her ass a little bit. And then once that transition that she feel comfortable enough, clean enough, and she knows, then maybe exploring finger and using an Uber lube in the shower is great because it doesn't wash off really easily because of silicone lube. And then you could move out the shower and then go into the bedroom, depending on what is necessary. And also having, I think there's, I'm like, lately I've been thinking a lot about the psychological experience of my female partners. And one of the key things is she going to worry about her white sheets, things like that. Anything that would take her mind into management mode, we want like mom mode out, management mode out, CEO mode out, right? That's not the time for anal sex. So how can I create a space where she doesn't have to manage sheets and worry about things? So usually I could put like a liberator blanket.
Oh yeah, the fascinator, bro.
Yes.
Yeah, we have those at purepleasureshop.com. They're awesome. I have one in black. And
I have two. I have one in black and purple.
And you pour a whole cup of water on them. So great for squirting, but also for if you're worried about any sort of like mess that you don't want to see, they're great for hiding that. We have them at purepleasureshop.com. Use coupon code shamelesssex to get 15% off. They're awesome. There's like, that's what I actually used about half an hour ago before I had sex coming here, just saying. So anyways, back to Kenneth.
So that gets all the warm up stuff going. So I think that will be the first thing. And then part two, I could go into it more, but that will be the warm up, the setup.
Yeah. What's part two?
Okay, yes, please, part two, because I have some. I want to go into technique in a moment,
and I want to get my finger in April's ass.
Yes, not going to happen. Not happening, Amy.
I'm trying.
Happily, I think first is using that Uber lube, and it's smart to there's a way to loop it up that I think is more efficient. So the sex hack is that you use the Uber Loop spray because it looks like a little perfume bottle. And depending on the body, but right at the hip crease, just like it creates a little bit dipping tray depending on the body. Spray wherever you could. And then you loop up your finger, like so you could do a little bit of that, like a chef. Right, you gotta loop it up correctly.
This is all about the food. This episode, I love it.
Ass and food.
It used to be about the gym. Now it's a food. I love it.
That's
so,
fine, though.
And then you could spray. So you could loop up your finger and then spray some on the butthole. Then you could massage the outside, so you know your finger is really well lubricated. If it's a first time anal sex, then using one finger is smarter. Usually your index finger, because you have more dexterity and you have more. You can move easier with you can manage this finger a lot better than most fingers. And then you start with the outside. So you don't necessarily need to put your finger inside immediately. You should massage the outside of the anus, and that will provide a good amount of sensation. At the same time, you could have no stimulation on the clitoris at first and just have her feel it a little bit and then see what she liked. Then you go like, why don't you play with your clit, or why don't you put a vibrator? Again, high arousal is really key. I think the first step is linking the two, because if the clit is a reliable, provide reliable pleasure and orgasm, it could get arousal high. We want to stay in high arousal. Once we get into the massaging bit, you will see a little bit of their anus actually pucker a little bit. It kind of just relax. So in the beginning, when you're like, oh, the shit's about to go down.
Literally, figuratively.
You know, the external sphincter, which you have control over, right? So there's two. There's gate number one, gate number two. The first one would be like, is involuntary. You might not even think about your asshole, but it's like, oh, shit shouldn't go in, right? Mm-hmm. So when you massage it, you want to get to the state where it actually opens up a little bit. And then there's so many different sex hacks that you could do. If your fingernails are all like, you're not ready to trim it, wear gloves. That makes it a lot easier too. So there's another easy sex hack.
Someone told us about putting cotton ball. If you have long fingernails and you don't want to trim them, if you put at the end of the glove, and then you put the cotton ball where the finger is, so it can cover the finger, and then you have the glove there, and then you can still keep your stabby finger, but you aren't hurting people as much.
Yeah, especially if you have nails, so the cotton ball would cover the nail. Yeah, so there's no sharp point, and then it won't puncture through the glove, so it gives enough barrier. So after that, after the massaging of the anus, and if you're watching on YouTube, is you could massage it like this with your fingertip, or you could do it with this flat part of your knuckle, which
he's going in a circular position, and then he's using his knuckles in a kind of a circular position as well, with his fingertip
on the outside of the anus.
And then on the outside, the external portion of the sphincter.
Hey, y'all. So I guested on the Feeling Lighter podcast with Dr. Lisa and Katie, and I wanted to share more about their WeShape offering because I absolutely love what they are doing.
I listened. I wasn't there, but I loved it too. And we get so many emails from people who are wanting to learn to love their bodies, and WeShape is the perfect solution for them. It's all about feeling comfortable in your body while letting go of the societal BS, that's bullshit, about how you should change it.
Heck yes, girl. And we would explain more to you, but instead, we're going to let Katie, one of the founders, do it in a more succinct way. So here you go.
Hi, I'm Katie, the co-founder at WeShape. We are a fitness app taking a radically different approach and paving a new path in the fitness industry. Our primary goal is to focus on people's physical and mental well-being. So we've created a product with workouts that are rooted in quality movement and connection with the body. We have a technology that has real-time customization that can meet you exactly where you are. We also believe that all movement counts, which is why we also offer stretching routines that take as little as 10 minutes. And as a means of addressing our mental well-being, WeShape offers daily community calls with various coaches that create a safe and judgment-free space with the primary goal of acknowledging that everyone has the right to accept and love their body just as it is, and that we don't need to meet societal standards to feel valued. So if you're ready to shift how you feel in your body and about your body, WeShape is here for you. Check us out at WeShape.com/shameless for 35% off today.
Calling all couples who are feeling like your relationship, especially the sexual connection, has lost its spark, is just so, or maybe you're feeling stuck or in a rut. Wah, wah, wah. Well, first off, you are completely normal and not alone. This is super common in long-term relationships. Second, there's hope. Maybe you've thought about seeking out support from a coach or therapist, but for whatever reason, aren't feeling ready to take that leap. Never fear, Shameless Sex is here. The book, I mean. While our latest book, Shameless Sex, Choose Your Own Pleasure Path to Unlock the Sex Life You've Been Waiting For, is for everyone, it's specifically geared towards couples who are looking to go from so-so to great in the bedroom and beyond. Written in a playful and fun choose-your-own-adventure style, we give you a simple framework with customized solutions to give you the right tools for the sex and relationships you desire, meaning you just might find your way to sexy pleasure and connection town without the time and cost of hiring a therapist for under $30. Plus, buying the book supports us and shows us you love us, so that's a bonus too. Testimonials are coming in left and right as to how this book helped people just like you create or recreate the sex life of their dreams. And you can too. Grab your hardcover copy or audio version now at shamelesssex.com.
Here's another pro tip. I like it when I'm not rushing the other party. I want the other party to feel like, oh, why is he not putting his finger in yet? That is actually a better psychological place. Right. So you're taking your time and he's just like, I'm ready. So when that person is actually ready, it changes the dynamic because you don't feel like that person is rushing you. So it's really important not to initiate like when, but kind of get that person to feel like, OK, I'm ready. It's better than you asking, because then it's just not the right syntax, right order. So after that, there's a couple of techniques on the book. So there's the PNF stretching. So there are stretching techniques that you could do, which is what athlete does to stretch out their hamstrings. And again, it's controlled by their second sphincter is involuntary. So your body has to learn how to let that one go. It's relaxation. But there is enough proprioception, meaning for the receiver to control number one. So you want that person to learn how to control it. I know I talk like a personal trainer, but it's effective because if that person understands their own ass, they feel more in control and in power.
Wait, Kenneth, question just right here at this point. I have two different pieces. The first piece is, what do you think about so fingers are, of course, an option. We have those accessible. Most of us have those accessible. So what about using instead, if someone isn't wanting to use a finger, a plug, like a small plug or some anal beads, something small to get the anus ready? Do you think that is a viable option, or is that something that you would consider more for advanced folks or intermediate folks? Or are you just talking about what's accessible now and easy? Because in my experience, I feel like butt plugs can help the smaller ones, but I've worked with sex toys for years now, so I have those on hand.
My answer is it really depends if it's the first time partner anal sex, right? And especially if it's a heterosexual context, it's like he was trying to fuck my ass with his penis. So it really different if you are doing your own personal exploration anal training, then a plug or a toy would be great as their sort of initiation process. But the reason I favor the finger personally, and there's no one way to do it, is that I have sensation that I could see what's going on. I don't get a feedback loop from toys or plugs. So I know when she's tensing and when to go in and when to coach, right? Or when everything is ready to go. So I get a better feedback loop. And there's ways to hack the sphincter too, right? So one is the PNF stretching, which there's a couple of different ways to do it. So I'm going to give you all three hacks because I love sharing different hacks on the podcast, and you can write about it. You could share it on social media. The first one is just you wait, right? I'm ready. You put the finger in and you press against the hole and you wait until it relaxes. That's the first one. And then once it relaxes, you ask the person to bear down or try to push your finger out. So, when you poop, basically when you're trying to push poop out, your asshole opens. Yes, so it's counterintuitive because you think pushing you don't think it's opening, but it is. So if you ask a person to push against you, then you could go in much easier.
That's like bearing down,
so
right?
That's the relaxation, bearing down. So you're pushing out, because if you tense up, it's going to actually, that could cause pain and the fissures and
which sounds counterintuitive to people. You're like, wait, you want me to bear down as if I'm pooping? But like actually that helps to open up the muscles.
I tried different lines, and I'm a crazy nerd. So which line is the most effective? Say push my finger out so they don't think poop. If I say pooping, then they get into
like, that's not sexy.
Like a man.
Like,
yeah.
I think the sexiest organ is between the ears. So I'm trying to manage that most of the time. The body, it just go along with the ride, you know? So until they get into their body, they're not thinking anymore. Different state. So bearing down is one trick, right? Try to push my finger out. As soon as I feel it opens, that's when I slide in. Well, on the first, and I'm not trying to necessarily need to put my whole finger in. It might be 2 knuckles. Once I'm in there, I don't move. Right. So there's a lot of sequence that I like on first time anal. So you wait and you go like, how does that feel? Right. And then you don't have to move it. And just say, how does that feel? And go like, is there any pain? Relax into that. Then you start with sensation. So you don't have to go in and out. You just have to press up. Right. And if you want to go in a little deeper, you could go like, can you try to push out my finger again? So she learns how to use that muscle because it becomes more voluntary. You'll go like, oh, this is how I relax my ass.
Pressing up towards the belly button, right, as well, just in case,
towards the G-spot.
Towards the G-spot, towards the belly button.
Or also, if we're talking about, because this would apply to putting a finger in a penis owning ass too, and you would still also, if you're trying to get towards the prostate, you'd be pressing up as well towards the belly button as well. So what you're talking about here, I know we're saying more like she and this, but this applies to fingers in any ass.
Anybody that has a butthole.
Yeah, so all the asses. And one thing I wanted to say about the sex toy piece, just to add there, because April and I are both big sex toy fans, is that just to clarify for folks who are brand new, any sex toy you're using on your ass has to have a base on it. It has like a flange or flared base, because the ass keeps going and going into colon and rectum, colon, and then intestines. And it doesn't,
a trip to the hospital.
It doesn't have an end. Yeah. Yes. Whereas a pussy has an end and things don't get lost back in there. And so you want it. So there are anal safe, a stopper. Yeah. You want anal safe toys. Like if you go to purepleasureshop.com and you go to the anal section, all of those toys are anal safe, whether it's a vibrator or a plug or something, you'll see that it'll have this base. It's really important.
Yeah, my wife is an ER doctor, so I hear epic stories of what could get up there.
I ask ER doctors all the time about this. I'm like, so what have you seen? I want to know.
What did you hear?
Someone, it was actually a football player, said he slipped on and fell on a Coca-Cola bottle.
Seriously?
I feel like
I've heard that before. I thought that was a joke.
You were there.
Oh, I was there. That's why.
You were there. And so you have heard that before. Okay. But our friend that's an ER doctor, a mutual friend, told us a few stories. And I don't ask because I'm making fun of the situation. I really want to shed light on it because I think it's taboo for people to stick things in their ass, and people like it. It feels good.
They're curious.
And so when they come in, they're like, hey, I have this. I slipped and fell on a Coca-Cola bottle. And then there was one that was a Tabasco bottle. And he said, I was like, was the lid off? And the lid was off.
Oh, Shaq.
So anyway, that's my only story. I would love to hear about
this
your
is why we're talking about getting actual sex toys for this, and fingers and actual phalluses, either homegrown cocks or dildos that have bases.
So onward with Kenneth, because you're like, these are awesome tips, and we're on number 3, I think. Number 2 was
there's pushing out, and then there is another trick is that you ask that person to squeeze your finger as hard as they can until they tire out. When there's no more squeeze. So it's like flexing a muscle as hard as you can until you can't flex anymore, so it relaxes. Like it's a forced relaxation. Like little hold it, for like a minute, and it's hard. They will give up. Like they could only squeeze for so long, and once it's relaxed, then it stays relaxed for a little bit because you're too tired.
So it maxes out. It's almost like a muscle maxing out.
So you flex, and then you're just like, oh. Yeah.
It reminds me of when like people are having kind of like panic attacks and things, or going through high anxiety, and one of the, I think it's TRE, where they say do a wall sit where your back is against the wall and your legs are in an L shape, and you do that to the point where you exhaust your body, and it can help to pull you out of this like anxiety place because you're so exhausted. I'm not a licensed therapist, everyone, but it's what it reminds. I've just never thought about that for anal. That's amazing. I'm gonna try that. tomorrow with April.
Yeah. So, yeah.
She hates it every time. You got to watch the YouTube videos of her. Her facial features are great. She hates it. Shaking her head.
So you squeeze until they like, you literally don't tell them to relax until they like give up. Basically, you want the ass to give in to relaxing, and then you have a more relaxed butt. So that's how you hack the sphincter 2. And the third one is PNF stretching, which is proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. I think that's I forgot in my my personal training.
We're going to quiz everyone later on that, so be ready.
So it's the same idea, is that you having the same contraction piece. So imagine and that's the diagram that I showed you earlier on the book. Imagine you hooking your finger in all 4 directions. So just say, this is April's butt. And
April's butt.
And then I am hooking just the first knuckle in. And then once my finger is in, I will ask that person to squeeze. And then I'm stretching one direction. So I'm pulling, and then the squeezing is fighting my pull. And then you want that squeeze to maintain for 7 seconds. And then when you relaxes, it tricks the sphincter to relax, and then you could stretch it more. It will go beyond your like limit before your brain sends a signal that, oh, I shouldn't be, because it works on your hamstring the same way. You fight it, relax, and then you could stretch a little bit further than normal. But another study said that you don't really need to stretch beyond pain, like 40%. Just say 100% is like, oh, it's too painful. And then there's no benefit at 80%. 40% is good enough to get the most benefit out of stretching. But you could also anal stretch, so you could create more flexibility, just like your hamstring. But basically hold it for 7 seconds, you count it, and then when they relax, you stretch it a little bit more, and you do all 4. So all 4 direction, left, right, up, down. And then that also gives like a training protocol for the receiver to feel how their ass actually work. Right, that's the empowering bit.
That technique should be called news, north, east, west, south. Right?
Smart.
Trademarking, you can't trademark news.
Yeah, definitely can't trademark
news. From Charlie Glickman. That's where I learned
Charlie
it
knows the ass so well. Charlie was actually on episode 108. I remember that, and it was like some like ass-tastic anal. He was also our very first speaker on the prostate episode 11, I think. So I think we were just right about this in the book, our book, and he definitely knows. He has the ultimate guide to prostate play that he co-wrote with, I forgot the name of the other person, so it's not just his book.
Okay, time for a quick break. This podcast is free to you because of our amazing sponsors like Uberlube. Uberlube is a luxurious silicone lubricant that can enhance your sex and intimacy. Uberlube's unique formula is velvety, long-lasting, with no flavor or scent, and it feels absolutely incredible on the body. There are thousands of doctors recommending Uberlube to their patients because it's less likely to throw off your pH than most other lubes. So whether you want to make your hot sex even hotter, or you want to prevent dryness, take our advice and check out our favorite go-to Uberlube.
Uberlube isn't just for sex. I use it for massage, to tame my frizzy hair, to prevent chafing, even for oral sex sessions. I love how it comes in a beautiful bottle with a pump top for easy access, appearing more like a cosmetic product so you can leave it on your nightstand shamelessly. Uberlube is without a doubt my favorite lube, and countless listeners agree, often stating, "We never knew lube could be this good." To learn why we think it's the best lube on the planet, check out uberlube.com and use code SHAMELESSSEX for 10% off and free shipping. Again, that's uberlube.com. Use code SHAMELESSSEX for 10% off and free shipping. This podcast was also made possible by OMGYes.com. OMGYes combines scientific research of real vulva owners so you can learn shame-free techniques on how to pleasure the pussy. OMGYes studied 20,000 plus people of all ages and turned the research into animated modules, short videos, and beautiful infographics that are tasteful and easy to understand. Whether you want to learn about external pleasure, internal stimulation, or techniques with toys, OMGYes can help you master vulva pleasure. Let me tell you, I've been recommending OMGYes to my clients for years, and it's been changing their lives because knowledge really can activate your pleasure power.
OMGYes is for anyone who cares about vulva pleasure and wants to take it to the next level. OMGS can help you become a sexual strategist by equipping you with the tools you need to unlock your pleasure potential. Plus, your OMGS purchase helps fund more pleasure research. OMG, that's great. Only pay once, and these techniques are yours forever. That's right, this is not a subscription service, and you don't need to download a thing. So go to omgs.com/shameless to get 10% off when you purchase any OMGS season. Again, go to omgs.com/shameless to get 10% off right now. Time to pursue your pleasure. And now, back to the show.
So wait, I want to ask one question because you said pain. So my understanding is this is why April and I never recommend numbing stuff for ass play, because you want to feel what's going on. And so there's a distinction between, maybe you can elaborate this, between pain and discomfort. Like for me, when my ass is relaxing, it's uncomfortable. And I understand what discomfort feels like. And then once it relaxes, then it can be really pleasurable and the discomfort goes away. But pain, like burning, tearing, things like that, those are different. So I just wanted to kind of elaborate and then see what your thoughts are about that.
Well, good anal sex should be pretty pain-free, I would say. So maybe some minor discomfort is more like learning about your body, learning a movement. Again, after 15 years of personal training, there is a difference between someone feeling like a minor discomfort versus like I'm hurting, the joints are hurting. So having that distinction is really important. But I think I'm giving like tons of sex hacks on this podcast. I think it'll be great. The last one is that you don't need to go in and out in order for that sensation to work. So once you get your finger all the way in, this is more of a general tip. The internal sensation respond to pressure more than friction or vibration. That's why you don't see a lot of internal dildo that deal with vibration, because it's a pressure nerve. So it's a visceral nerve. So same thing, it's the same sensation you get from like those orgasmic cramping, right? Those contraction to your period cramp. It's the same nerves that travel the signal. It just depending on it's pleasurable or not, right? And contextual. And those nerves, because you don't need to in and out in order to produce the pressure, but you could go in and out when there's tension on top already, and the in and out creates that sensation, but you could just flex your finger up, which is, much, much easier. And then the last hack is when you're ready to put the second finger in, you stagger your finger like this. So you don't try to go in side by side, you stack them so it becomes a smaller point. And then you have to watch
the video. They're kind of like on top of each other instead of like, got it. Okay.
And then you get your finger in, and once they feel, you could still, again, you could do all the bearing down, squeeze my finger until it's too tired. Then you could spread your finger. I actually believe, I know that I sound like I'm taking so much time, but your first time, someone trusting with your butt, if you fuck this up, is not good for you. So this is a long game, right? Like you rather be slower than faster in this game. So once, if I desire one finger, totally works. But if I want two fingers, I have a little bit more, I could produce more pressure. And remind me to tell you why people like to big, huge object up their ass, especially gay men. And there's a neuroscience explanation to it. So once you have your two finger in, then you really want arousal to go up. That person is comfortable, and ideally, you should pair it with an orgasm experience. You could go down on her. She could rub her clit, or for prostate, you could suck the cock, jerk it off, whatever it is. So first one could be you just use the clit as to escalate where you get closer to climax, right? But it is fun to slow down that stimulation when you get closer to orgasm, so you could pay more attention to your ass. So that bit, like when you're about to come, everything kind of feel good. This is like when you slap me.
Yeah, totally.
Choke me, slap me, slap me harder.
Yeah. I love April's expression too on that one. Watch it on YouTube.
Watch the video, everyone.
Like, yeah. Do that.
And go find us on Instagram, because we have clips on there too. So TikTok as well.
So get to that moment when you're like in that state, but then you want to slow down the penile or the clitoral stimulation so you could pay more attention to your butt. And then so one way to do it is that you get really close and then you slow it down, but you're still about to come. And then you use the ass to cross over. Then your brain remap and go like, oh, this is possible to have an orgasm. Another way is that you start off, I mean, if you have a female body, then you're lucky. Multiple orgasm is so easy for more female than male. But the goal is that you could have an orgasm just good old way that is dependable. And then the second one, you do that. The second one, that you pay more attention, you pull back on the clit just enough. But the pressure is the key, right? And then you could also do in and out and check in and see what that feels good. But usually what you're trying to feel with your finger inside is locate, you can still feel it where the urethral sponge, because it's such a thin layer of membrane, and then also where the cervix ends. So you could still, if she's curled up into a ball, anterior pelvic tilt, right? The cervix is still be under the tip of your finger for most people's finger.
Through anally, you mean?
Yeah, through anally.
Yeah, so you can feel the anal
cervix.
canal.
Yeah. So you can still feel the cervix. So that is basically the A spot and P spot. So you could stimulate that, or you could go a little bit, you don't have to go so deep, right? You're still focusing on G spot anally. Mm-hmm. Now, there are cool things about why male body loves larger objects in the butt is that this might be a little bit nerdy, very scientific. So it doesn't matter if you're male body and female body, there's still 4 nerves that sends a signal to your brain that make your genital sexual signal to your brain. So the one that's control your clit and your penis, like the head of your penis and the clit is the same. But for your G spot is basically male prostate, right? There's a little bit of crossover, but we don't have a cervix, right? Mm-hmm. And the vagus nerve, the way it lays on our male body is higher up in the intestine. Oh, so what men likes deep and pressure is to feel those nerves that we don't have a good easy access to. So that's why you see the deeper in and higher up in order to create the pressure.
That's where the deep anal fisting comes in.
Or like those big old dildos. And things.
All the skinny one that goes longer that could travel up their large intestine to hit those nerves. So ultimately, what people are trying to do is stimulate those nerves. It's not because, and their pressure respond. That's why bigger or longer or fisting becomes popular on that end, because it's not an easier way to access those nerves. Some people could do it through their belly, like if they, those massage gun. So,
yes, I love
so that. There is one hack that is questionable. So don't try this with a grain of salt and talk to your doctor before you do it.
Yeah, talk to your doctor first.
But you could use that massage gun, and while you masturbate, getting closer. So 2 hacks. One is have the massage gun hit your hip bone, because your hip bone will conduct the vibration to those nerves. And you might want to have a pad there, because if it's the thing hitting the bone, it might hurt. Or you could put it on the lower stomach while you masturbate, and you could feel those nerves being activated. But the key is that you have to be in a receptive state. It's not the same energy as you're trying to like bust a nut. It's different. It's like, I'll rub one off. It's a different energy when it comes to anal receptive pleasure. I think most men or most male body, they never enter that state, on that receptive state. They only have to let me rub 1 hour, let me bust a nut energy. So they have to learn that prostate or anal sensation. That's why I think you could, you have a straight man, is really important for you to at least try it one time to explore your own prostate, so you know what your partner is experiencing. Even if you happily never touch your prostate again and you live a happy sex life, it just to understand what your partner has to go through is really important.
This is all amazing, as usual, per usual with Kenneth. So we've talked about fingers. I want to share just a tiny piece from my experience with anal to see if this is common for other folks, or if you have suggestions. So I'm speaking, I own a clitoris, I own a vagina, and I own an ass. And when I've been penetrated by a penis owner anally, what I find after I've been warmed up and the penis is inside, for me, I personally do not like the in and out with the cock. I need it to stay inside of me and kind of go, because the in out sometimes, even if my ass is warmed up, can be really tricky for me. And then it doesn't create pain, but it creates more discomfort, and I can't get into the rhythm of the experience. So I'm wondering if this is something that you would also suggest, like no in out privileges when you're inside the ass, or if is that just my body?
Like a VIP band.
Yeah, you have a VIP band. There's no in and out privileges. Okay, you're in, in, you're in. You're in.
I think a lot of sexuality is based on preference, just like food. Like some people like it spicy, some people like it really bland. So it really depends on that individual. But however, if you like the cock to stay in, you could be the one who's sitting on the cock, right? Because you have more control over, and you could just sit on it when it's all the way in you, and the penis becomes the butt plug. And then that gives you easy access to masturbate or finger yourself or whatever else that you could do it. You could have a version where you're not just in this receptive state, like you're someone doing something to you. You could take control over the anal experience. I think it's more important to link positive experience or orgasmic experience to anal play first, and then you could explore different ways to approach anal. But if you have most anal is like just painful, or this guy doesn't care and just fucks my ass, that is not usually a good recipe.
Those are the people who are like, why do people like anal? I don't get it. Why would anyone like that? Or if we're going from the doctor and then, they have some sort of exam, like the doctor's not there to pleasure you, everyone. Or there's also the experience that people had the slip where they're having vaginal sex, all of a sudden shoves in the ass, and they're like, that must be what anal sex feels like.
That's what happened to me for a long period of time. I wouldn't even, I said, no, anal's not for me, because I had a bad experience, meaning a painful one that was an accidental experience. And that's
like someone punches you in the stomach.
Yes. And I thought it was permanently damaged. I was like, I think I'm bleeding. Right.
You probably did bleed.
I probably did.
Yeah, I probably did a little.
And that's why we don't always want to put ourselves in these boxes of pleasure, right? Where you think something just absolutely isn't for you. If you are with the right person you can trust, you're reading Kenneth's book about hacks and how to do it with a lot of intention and doing it with pleasures first, being compassionate and empathetic to your partner's needs.
Yeah.
So I think that is the key.
It's really important to have education perceive your experience when it comes to anal sex. So a little bit of learning goes a long way. And I compare it to this analogy. Like back in the day when I used to play video games, you just kind of do trial and error. You don't know how to beat the boss, right? But now you can actually watch people how to beat this level, and you can follow along. So why would you want to stumble when it comes to this kind of experience? You kind of want to go in with knowledge, right? And then you can see what the best are doing. So you could mimic some of those, like, trial and proven successful technique. And the other thing is about trust, right? Is anal trust is a whole nother level of trust. If you get to anal trust, the person is most likely would do a lot more things, explore a lot more what you have. You earn anal trust. If you're worthy of anal trust, they probably desire to try more things with you, because if you could get that going and you could show someone that they could have an experience they never had before, you're trustworthy, and you could take them to places they couldn't take themselves. Magical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally have had the whole spectrum of experiences, and like you were saying, it's the preference. Like April has a preference for not a lot of in and out thrusting. For me personally,
no, I like the thrusting, just not out
all the way out.
Right,
Yeah, not all the way pulled out. Totally. And for me, I have days where I'm that way. I am like, some days my ass is just like, no, some days I think I want to play with the ass, and my ass is like, nope, it's not happening. Some days the fingers or the cock that I'm playing with just slips right in, or the dildo or whatever. I usually don't play with it. And my ass is just like, yes. And like some days it takes 20 minutes for my ass to warm up. Some days within 2 minutes, it's like, I want you to fuck my ass right now. And
some days it is a hard no for me too.
That's my favorite line.
I want you to fuck my ass. Yeah. And for me, it's just based on so many things. I'm also like a little more of an energetic person. And so I just kind of like, I just listen to my body, and it's different every day. And so I think that the learning part, though, like that, I think that's a really valuable tip for people who want to penetrate someone anally, to experience penetrating their own ass, at least with fingers, to know how these muscles work. What does this feel like? And like you said, because how else are you going to, like, we could take all the sex ed classes, but if you have the ability to experience it, because you have an ass, everyone. So if you're going to go and play with someone that way, I think it's really, really valuable. Some of the best anal sex I've had with people is with people who have penetrated their asses, like they have had some sort of experience with
right,
that.
and it may be just a finger,
yeah,
or a couple of fingers, but definitely agree with you on that
and
one.
It could be your own finger. It doesn't have to be someone else's finger. You could have your own privacy and explore in the shower, so there's less cleanup and all that stuff. So you could do that. It's also really remarkable to the anal trust level is to be in that receptive state, because that is, like I'm quite kinky. To me, it's like when you in like full submission. It's not compliance, right? It's not like, oh, I'm going to tolerate you fucking my ass. It's in full submission and is in this receptive state is absolutely delicious. And I think it's really important to know what you're doing, because who the fuck would trust you with their asshole if you don't know what you're doing?
Yeah.
So.
Totally. Is there such thing as an anal quickie? I mean, I was just saying today, like some days I'll have this day where my ass just kind of opens up. But like for me, generally, it's not like a 5-minute sex session that happens. Full penetrative anal quickies, is that doable? Or are we talking like you probably need at least 10
maybe you wore a butt plug for
minutes.
A while.
Yeah, oh, there you go. Like
and then
stars.
You were relaxed, and then you could have a more
now the ass is
bigger
ready.
quickie or a longer quickie or a quicker quickie.
Quicker quickie anal. The scientific answer is there's pleasure conditioning, so it depends on how conditioned you are. So if you have anal sex every day, your body will get to that state a lot faster. Like if you have an experienced rock climber, they could just ready to go. They don't need to, they're ready to go. Like skydiving, right? They're going to jump. They don't hesitate because they've done it so many times. So it's like, how many jumps do you have under your belt that makes you that whole warm-up process a lot quicker?
Yeah.
So you're on your way, Chip.
I'm there. I'm going to be an anal quickie girl someday. I'm growing up real quick. I want to be there. Well, this is amazing. I've learned so much from you.
Every time Kenneth Play is on, I just
like we could talk about anal
more.
for like 20 hours.
We really could. And in theory, yes. Is there something else?
One more sex hack. I wanted to put a like what do they call it? A
disclaimer.
No, an Easter egg on my book. Like, can I have one crazy sex hack that like people will mention? So I have one sex move. It's called Release the Kraken. I know it sounds horrible, but I wanted something really funny. So, and I'm going to show it to you guys, and you can learn more about the book. So once your finger is in, like this is after a bunch of warm up, like there's a lot of edging, teasing. So you have to be in the edge of orgasm, like you're 90% there or 99% there. So once your finger is all the way in and that person is bent over, ideally, right? So like ass, face down, ass up is pretty good. And I'm using my finger and my arm is straight like this. And I'm doing this really rapidly once I'm inside. So
he's taking his arm up and down. For anyone that's not watching YouTube,
the arm is going up and down.
So the arm is going up and down like this. So what you essentially doing is that when you are pressing down and the release, right? So you're creating a lot of firing for those nerves, the pressure response nerve, and it kind of throw you in this like crazy orgasmic state with like crazy contraction, and you will see like gape. Like obviously, this is you do all the prep work for this anal experience because it's not like I haven't douched. Like this one is like a full on porn star butt on this one. But if you do it, it's remarkable what type of orgasm it triggers.
Are we talking like the range here? Is this like an inch or 4 inches? Or is it, I mean, are we talking like a foot like here, half up and down?
Whatever the butt will take. It will reach a limit, right? So just bounce back with it. It's like you're dribbling a basketball. Just think of it like that, but with your finger. And what you're dribbling is the cervix, is the G-spot, is all the nerves, but all the nerve will fire up. And that person could still have a vibrator on the clitoris or rubbing the clit, but it really is a showstopper.
Oh my God, I have to try this. Yeah. I need this. So, April loves releasing the Kraken too. For everyone who, if you're not watching the YouTube video, go to our YouTube channel, our Shameless Sex YouTube channel, so you can see what he was just doing.
Release the Kraken. Do you say that right before you do that?
No,
do you say, Kenneth's like, I am going to release the Kraken. I think that maybe next time you might want to consider that.
April says that randomly. Oh yeah, he's showing another picture.
He's showing the pics. There's imagery in all.
Oh, you can see like the little finger
in his guides, in his sex hacks to show you, and QR codes to link you to.
And the QR code would have it as a gift that shows you in motion.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then which spot is you're pressing on. But what's really remarkable, why I call it the Release the Kraken, is like, it's funny because it feels like every time my lover is possessed by the darker side, something is being released.
They're like, really become the Kraken.
It was Pirates of the Caribbean, right? When the Kraken came out, it was Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, the Kraken was
it was like Blackbeard. Blackbeard came out. No, it was like that squid.
Oh, squid. Oh, huge. Oh, yeah. And so they're like all witchy. They're like, whoa.
Yes.
Oh, I like that.
This is like raw primal joy that you rarely see someone drop into that state. This is really beautiful. Like you're not trying to you don't give a shit really at that moment. Like you're really in that experience. So I think it's beautiful.
Add that to my bucket list.
Yes. And we don't ever want to say goodbye or release the Kraken to Kenneth. However, we only have a little bit of time every week with y'all. So please, Kenneth Play, can you share how folks can find your book, first of all, find you, work with you, all of your handles, because we love handling Kenneth Play on the show because he's just fantastic.
He's really good at handling things.
And he's good at handling things.
Thank you. So go to kennethplay.com. That's the easiest. All the links are there. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter. But I am really killing it with the blog. There's like tons of free content, and it's only safe space that I don't really get censored as much. So I could put the best stuff on my blog. So definitely go to my website, check out all the diagram, check out the diagram in motion. And I really want to provide the best content. And to end this podcast with, I don't like the idea of informing people how to do a backflip. I want to teach them how to do a backflip. And until you learn how to do it, I don't give a shit if you're a world expert in backflip that you can't do one. I want you to able to do one. That's the fun part for me. So I hope you check my site out.
The king of analogies, I would say.
That's a sign of also a true educator who like really cares about the whole process that comes. So, all right. And one last time, remind our listeners the name of your book that they all need to get.
Beyond Satisfy, a sex hacker guide to endless orgasms, mind-blowing connection, and lasting confidence.
Yes, we have it here. You must go check it out.
Wow. Thank you. Gratitude to you, Mr. Kenneth Play. Gratitude to all of you releasing the Kraken out there after this episode.
Oh, he needs to release another Kraken.
Can I shamelessly plug one more thing?
Absolutely.
Put that plug in us. We love those plugs.
Let me plug. I also have a Sex Hacker Pro course, which all the techniques that I just talked about, you could see it live on video when I demo it. So it's not just written words. You see me how I do it literally, because I taught fitness. So you will see how I negotiate, how I actually do the thing, what it looks like. So you don't have to imagine this stuff.
Awesome.
That's how I became acquainted with Kenneth Play's work, because there was a video of you teaching in a workshop, a digital workshop, how to have someone ejaculate. Specifically,
we saw that
female ejaculator. Right? Yes,
Yeah.
So we're like, whoa, he's coming on our show. We're so excited. So thank you. Yes, absolutely. Check out all of Kenneth's work, because again, I love that analogy with the backflip and teaching folks rather than actually just telling people how to do it. Like, do this, because everyone is different, and you are kind of adapting that Rubik's Cube of humanity to adjust to each person's specific needs and situations. So I think that's really beautiful. And thanks again for that, Kenneth. And thank you to all of our shameless sex revolutionaries out there listening. I just want to invite you and welcome you to rate us. Give us 5 stars on Instagram. I mean, not on Instagram. Well, I guess we'll take. I don't know if they're taking stars. Just seeing if you're paying attention. iTunes, though, and Spotify. Go ahead, give us a little bit of a review. If you just have time for an emoji, we accept that too. So we will see you next Tuesday for another episode of Shameless Sex. Ciao for now.
Want to learn more? Go to shamelesssex.com, and for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code shamelesssex at purepleasureshop.com.